most of my time in protest.
Can you please tell us your name, please?
My name is Kathy Kelly.
And your organization?
I'm a co-coordinator of Voices for Creative Nonviolence.
And we're in front of the CIA headquarters at Langley, Virginia, here at a drone protest. Can you please tell me what you hope to accomplish today?
I think it's a good thing for people from Pax Christi and other friends to gather in front of this particular spot and to make it known that we're aware that the intelligence that they're collecting is so faulty as to be lethal and dangerous for innocent civilians who've meant us no harm, particularly with regard to the drone surveillance. I'm going to be going to Afghanistan tomorrow, and in previous times there, people in Afghanistan have made it clear that they feel constantly at risk, especially beyond Kabul, because they can be mistaken for high-value targets. And the arrogance of the usage of drones has really been, I think, maybe best articulated by General McChrystal, who formerly was in charge of the International Security Assistance Forces in Afghanistan. And it was General McChrystal who said the arrogance of drone usage actually jeopardizes security of people in the United States. Now, how could that be? Well, people feel rage, and they feel intense anger. Now, I want to tell this group a story about a man from Khaisor in North Waziristan who described to me what it was like to be a survivor of a drone hit in his village of 500 people with no roads leading up to the village, so isolated. And, you know, the code in their area is that if somebody knocks on the door, you give them something to eat. I mean, where else are they going to go in the middle of what we would say the middle of nowhere? And when I asked him, suppose good-hearted people from my country wanted to sit down with people from your country and just talk about these collective problems of fear and insecurity, would people from your village talk to the people from my country? And he looked at me like I was off my rocker. And then he said, Madame, who would be so crazy as to not to want the peace? Of course we would talk with you. And then he added, just please, you leave your weapons aside. Well, that's maybe the nugget. Just please, we leave our weapons aside. Our weaponized drones, our statistics that show that we have more weapons than the next 18 countries combined, our feeding of weapons to the neighboring states. Even Al-Qaeda groups are being able to get money for weapons because of the United States payments to use roadways in Afghanistan. I mean, the CIA knows about all of this that we maybe are just scratching the surface of through our more paltry means of research. But I think the CIA can't know, they will never know, using drone surveillance, what it's like for a mother to go to the cemetery carrying in her arms the bundle that was her child.
Yesterday that actually happened, or the day before, the United States attacked a wedding party in Yemen, and reports say that 17 people were killed. And the government of Yemen stated that none of those folks were combatants, enemy combatants. Did you hear about that?
I did, and I was immediately reminded of a friend. He's an emergency medical responder, EMT, and he talked about having gone to, as a first responder, a similar site, and he couldn't find any survivors. He found many scarves and little pairs of children's shoes, and he said, you know, it affects you for a lifetime, and it makes you wonder, do people in the United States believe that the Afghan people, in this instance, are really human beings?
Did you want to tell us a little bit about what your organization does, how you are educating and telling other folks in the world about the drone projects and the move to work away from drones?
Voices for Creative Nonviolence has been privileged to learn through being alongside people in war zones in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Bahrain, that where you stand determines what you see. So we try our best not to preach nonviolence to people in other countries that are being afflicted by United States warfare. We believe nonviolence can change the world, and we don't believe war is inevitable. But essentially, we find our role maybe most appropriate to be that of trying to amplify the voices of people who have nowhere to turn and nowhere to hide, and help people anywhere else in the world get a better sense for the consequences, the cost of our wars. And we recognize also that there's a war going on in this country. You know, when I grew up, there was a war on poverty. It was very altruistic in a sense that we were going to eradicate poverty in the United States. And I think it's been metamorphosed into something like a war against the poor. Just recently, the New York Times published a series about children, homeless children, just in New York alone, 20,000 children without homes. And here are kids in Afghanistan working as street vendors because their homeless parents sent them out. 600,000 children working, many of them as street vendors, and they've been displaced by war. The war displaces 400 people every single day. People just pick up their belongings and run in panic and in fear. So our hope is that when people are thinking about security for their children, for themselves, for their future, that maybe voices could jostle their comfortable sensibilities and say, you know, really, the greatest terror we all face is what we're doing to our environment, to our air, to our ground, to our water. We need all hands on deck. We need the scientists. We need the ingenuity, the smarts, really, of so many people that got gobbled up by our killing machine.
Thank you, Kathy Kelly.
Thank you very much, John.